Today's walk is, if I follow the guidebook, nearly 40 kilometers, which I couldn't possibly do. So a friend suggested I stop at the little town before Toledo, which would make it about 30 kilometers. And that's even a bit of a push. So the walk today was made possible and pleasant by being punctuated by 5 different little villages. The first village that I passed through at 8 o'clock in the morning, fast asleep, not a soul moving. The second one, about 3/4 of an hour to an hour later, was just beginning to stir. You could see people opening windows and doors. And I saw an elderly woman, and I mimed to her, "Is there a place for coffee?" And she said, "Come, follow me." And she took me down through these little narrow roads. I would never have found it, well off the Camino, to this hole in the wall, a local bar for the residents of that little section. And I had my first coffee after a 10-kilometer walk. And I set out again for the third village, which was awake when I arrived. I found a quiet place at the back of the bar just to check my feet and blisters. And instead of the usual coffee, I ordered what they call a solo and a shot. So a solo is just an espresso, and a shot is a tot of whiskey or brandy. Here it was whiskey, plus a big spoon of sugar. And I thought this would give me the energy with the sugar, the alcohol, and the coffee to do the next 10 kilometers. And sure enough, I got to the fourth little village, and this was a Sunday, as I've mentioned, and everybody was spilling out on the stairs of the church. What a lovely atmosphere. You could feel the atmosphere. People having been to Mass, spilling out, wishing everybody happy Sunday. The priest was there greeting people. So I waited until most of the congregation had drifted off. Mind you, drifted off into the town, which had opened all their restaurants onto the main street. So it was so attractive. I was so tempted to say, to hell with this, let me stop and have a Sunday lunch. But I know me, I would never get started again after sitting down. So I went to the priest, and he saw that I had the backpack, and he gave me a big embrace, a great lover of the Camino, called me in, gave me the stamp, gave me a little blessing, and it was like another shot in the arm, this time a spiritual shot. And off I went then for my final destination, the fifth village. The Camino, true to its form, so it was now getting around about 1-2 o'clock, temperature rising, I was tired. I think with these shots, when they drop you almost vertically. Anyway, sure enough, as I'm coming to my destination, Corbisa, the little town before Toledo, there's this long, slow hill. So I crawled up there and arrived in this quaint little village, my destination. After a little bit of problem, found the place where I was staying, which was just off the city, the village square. And I was too late to go to the market, unfortunately, but I found a place to buy some water and milk, put them in the fridge, had a shower, freshened up, and then went and had a long beer and a salad, watching all the Spanish residents of Corbisa enjoying a big Sunday lunch. I'm so pleased that I decided not to push on, that this was more than enough. And after lunch, I went and had a siesta and prepared myself for a quiet Eucharist in the evening, and to look for a meal to celebrate my Sunday, the day before arriving in Toledo. I'd like to tell you about two friends of mine. The first is a German Benedictine monk that I've known for a number of years. And he was going through a particularly difficult, challenging time. And in the midst of it, he decided to take a little break and go to the North Sea, even though it was winter. And he related to me how one day he was walking along the beach. Everything was a different shade of grey, being winter in Germany. The sea, the sky, and the beach and the land. And as he walked, mulling over his difficulty, his challenges, he noticed far in the distance a little dot of red. I don't know if you've seen some of these modern photographs that are black and white, and yet just one dot of colour in them. Well, he said it was like this huge black and white vista with this dot of colour. When he eventually got to the little dot of red, it turned out to be a deflated balloon, red balloon. And on it were written just two words: go on. Go on. And Jeremias took those words as a message in the midst of his deliberation, his difficulties, to keep going. Don't give up. Keep going. Go on. Persevere. Perhaps for us, there are times when our life looks like one big black and white photo. And yet, it's so important that we believe, that we know that somewhere in that vista is the little dot of color, the little balloon, that little encouragement to go on, to keep going, to persevere. In a very small way, that was my experience today, that it was a long walk, 30 kilometers or so, and yet my red balloon today were the 5 villages. That's what kept me going in the midst of everything. The first one fast asleep, the second one awakening with the angel who led me to the little hole in the wall coffee shop. The third one, a place for rest and healing, and that shot in the arm that I was talking about. The fourth one, that an experience of faith, which was another shot in the arm, of those people spilling out from the church after Mass, that gave me an energy. And then the final one, my destination, that was my red balloon today. The red balloon has different shapes, has different appearances. The second person I would like to share with you today is a Redemptorist called Cyril Axelrod. He was born in a Jewish family in Johannesburg, totally deaf. And his parents sent him to the only deaf school at that time in Johannesburg, which was run by Dominican sisters. And the sisters made such an impression on Cyril that he converted to Catholicism. And even with the challenge of being totally deaf, he became a priest and later joined the Redemptorists. And I had the privilege of spending a number of years in community with Cyril, a gifted man. So much so that even though he was deaf, he taught himself Cantonese in order to minister to the deaf community in Macau, Hong Kong, and mainland China. Unbelievable. Anyway, at the peak of his career, to everybody's shock, Cyril became blind, totally blind as well, and had to really negotiate these two huge challenges, deaf and blind, right at the peak of him discovering his ministry in life. In 2014, at the age of 72, Cyril was invited to climb Machu Picchu. and the endeavor was to show the deaf-blind throughout the world that you can still live a normal life. And Cyril, in his autobiography, which is called Still on That Journey, it's going to be published in probably sometime this year, Still on That Journey, his autobiography, he talks of the experience of climbing the 4,000 feet to the summit of Machu Picchu. And to do this, he had 2 caregivers and 3 young Peruvian guides. And they got together and they taught Cyril almost like a new sign language. 2 taps on the upper arm meant he had to jump. 1 tap on the hand meant he had to go very slowly. And another sign that he was on a precarious part of the path. Cyril said that eventually his feet saw for him. His feet not only left a mark on this mountain, took 8 days to climb up and 7 days to come down, but he said eventually with the 2 caregivers and the 3 guides, Cyril said he saw with his feet. And when they eventually got to the summit, with touch and with smell, he said he was able to imagine for himself the beauty and the wonder all around him. That little group of 5 people, that little community, were his red balloon that enabled him to make this unbelievable journey. And Cyril said afterwards, after all the different trips he's made in his life, this was the one that has stayed with him most deeply, learning to see with his feet as he climbed Machu Picchu. Talk about that challenge, not being able to see anything, not being able to hear anything. Talk about a black and white vista, photo, as he stepped into this, and yet there was the balloon also for Cyril. I'm almost embarrassed to talk about my experiences on the Camino after reading this little chapter of Footsteps on the Mountain in his autobiography, Still on That Journey. And I think the title is so important, Still on the Journey. Because when we look at people's lives, some people seem to have unbelievably challenging life caminos, unbelievably. And yet it's no good comparing. Each one of us is given the journey that is suited for us. And there's always the temptation, like I had at the 4th village, to stop, to have a meal and to stop walking. There's always the temptation. With Cyril and his fear and anxiety about doing this journey, not being able to see or hear anything, but we are called to go on. We have to go on. Why? Why? You'd say, why do we have to go on? We have to go on because if we go back to that poem which we've used, I think right at the beginning of our retreat, but I've used in previous retreats, by Mary Oliver, called The Journey, she has those lines right at the end. And she says towards the end, as you're walking, there is a new voice. As you're walking and you've overcome all, there is a new voice which you slowly recognize as your own. There's a new voice that you begin to hear, that you slowly recognize as your own, that keeps you company. What is that new voice? That's the red balloon. Go on. That keeps you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to do the only thing you can do. What is this only thing we can do? To save the only life we can save. We have to go on. We have to make this journey. We have to navigate the days when everything looks bleak and like a black and white. We have to look for the dot of color, which is always there in one form or another, and will always have the same words written on. Go on. Persevere. Keep going. So 2 little poems today to continue with our theme of continuing, of perseverance, of going on. And the first one is by Antonio Machado, and you know it well, but it just fits in so perfectly with our theme of both Jeremias and Cyril on their journeys and as examples to us to persevere and to keep going, as Mary Oliver says, so that we can hear that voice and we can do the only thing we have to do, and that is to find ourselves and discover who we are. So the first is this poem by Antonio Machado. Traveller, traveller, your footprints are the only road. Traveller, your footprints are the only road, nothing else. Traveller, there is no road. You make your own path as you walk. So often we want to find a path that we can follow. All of us have that longing. We look for a guru. We look for someone in our life who has opened up the way and who we can follow. I expect a perfect example of this is the person of Jesus, the gospel, if you want. But every one of us has to walk that road, that direction in her or his own way. Do you remember that Buddhist saying, if you meet Buddha on the road, kill him? If you meet Buddha on the road, kill him. Why? Because the Buddhist tradition is, no, don't look for somebody else's path. You've got to find your own path. You know the direction, but you've got to make it yours. Traveller, your footprints are the only road. Cyril's title to his climb of Machu Picchu, Footprints on the Mountain. He said, I learned to see with my feet. He couldn't see anything. He learned to see with his feet. Traveller, your footprints are the only road, nothing else. Traveller, there is no road. You make your own path as you walk. So this helps to give us a little bit of courage, to stop looking around for confirmation. No, we've got to go on this sometimes rather bleak journey, looking for the dot of colour. Traveller, there is no road. You make your own path as you walk. As you walk, you make your own road. We've got to each make our own road. And when you look back, you see the path you will never travel again. And when you look back, you see the path you will never travel again. Traveller, there is no road, only a ship's wake on the sea. Because as you look back, you see slowly, just like the ship's wake in the sea, your path disappearing. All you've got is the challenge to keep going, to go on, even though you're not sure where, how, what. Even though, like Cyril, sometimes you can't hear anything or see anything, you know the direction. So that's our first poem by Anthony Machado. The second one, very similar, is entitled The Way by Edwin Muir. The Way by Edwin Muir. And in this poem, there's two people. It's the poet talking and his friend replying. And the friend is saying roughly the same thing as Machado said. The way by Edwin Muir. Friend, I've lost the way, says the poet. The way leads on, says the friend. The way leads on. Friend, I've lost the way. The way leads on. Is there another way? The way is one. Must I retrace the track? It's lost and gone, like Machado said. Back! I must travel back. None goes there. None. It's gone over like the wake of the boat in the sea. Back! I must go back. None goes there. None. Then I'll make here my place. The road leads on. Stand still and set my face. The road leads on. Stay here, forever stay. None stays here. None. I cannot find the way. The way leads on. Oh, places that I've passed. That journey's done. And what will come at last? The road leads on. And this road leads on right the way through our life, with us trying to feel our way like Cyril. I learned to see with my feet, feeling my way, even though we sometimes can't see, feeling our way with our feet, making the path as we walk. And that path of unknowing and unseeing, yet calling us, that path takes us right to the Jordan, and as we said yesterday or the day before, even across the Jordan, the journey still continues. The road leads on. Why? Because the road is the divine. And that's why we've got this inner North Star. We know the direction. We've got it within us. That's that voice Mary Oliver's talking about, that you slowly recognize as the voice can see the road. And your feet can see the road, even if you can't. But the road keeps going. The road keeps on through and over the Jordan and into eternity. And therefore, it's vital here and now that we are faithful to the road, that we keep on this journey, because it's the journey that enables us to hear the voice, and it's the journey and the voice that lead us to do the only thing we can do to save the only life we can save. And that's ours. Does it stop there? No. Because like Cyril and his example, still on that journey, Cyril is an example not only to the deaf-blind of the world, but to all of us. If he can do that, if he can climb for 8 days those 4,000 feet to the summit of Machu Picchu, we can manage our own black and white, knowing that somewhere is this balloon, this color, this invitation. So a few little questions on this for us. Where are you on this journey? If we take my journey today, where are you? And we take my journey as an example of the journey of life. Where are you? What village are you at? Are you at a village where much of you is still asleep? Are you in the village where you're beginning to awaken and there's an angel leading you that you need to follow, a wisdom figure, that elderly woman? Are you at the third village where you're invited to sit down, minister to yourself, look at your feet, because it's going to be through the feet that we see, and then take that shot to keep going? Or have you arrived at the fourth village, where the shot you get is a shot of faith, a shot of community, a shot of people's belief that immediately encourages you? Are you at the fourth village where you get the embrace of the priest and and the stamp that you're on the right road, the embrace of a faith community? Do you listen to friends? It was a friend that said, don't go all the way to Toledo. It's too far. Stop in Kobosa. Stop in the little town beforehand. Be good to yourself. Do you listen to the advice of friends encouraging you to self-compassion, to take care of yourself, so that you can, with your feet, detect the road, so that you can hear the inner voice? Are you at the fifth village, at a time in your life when you're invited to stop, to relax, to be Sunday, to celebrate Sunday? So where are you on this journey? What does your life look like? Can you see today, can you find today the little dot of red? No matter how bleak everything may appear. And can you remember the story of Jeremias? Go on, continue, persevere, keep going, and the path will open up for you.